Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. This is Property Management 101, and for today's video, we're going to be reviewing tips that will allow property managers that work in the single-family side of the industry to rise above the chaos, part 2. This is the second video that I am releasing on this channel regarding this topic, and if you haven't already watched part 1, please make sure you do so, and I would recommend watching that video before I'd recommend watching this video, as it's important to perform these tips in the order that I'm delivering them in these videos. I will put a link in the description or at the end of this video for part 1, as well as you can click on the right hand corner of this video now to see it as well. This video is best for anyone that works as a property manager managing single-family homes. If you're interested in daily routine tips for property managers on the multifamily side, I'll provide the links to those videos in the video description. On the single-family side of the industry, property managers tend to work remotely more than they do at a particular office, as their job requires them to bounce back and forth between single-family homes that are not always in the same location. So this is going to be really important to realize as well when you look at these tips, is that their typical day is much different than a property manager that works at a multifamily property. They're typically traveling a lot more, and because of situations like this, their schedule has to be more flexible compared to a multifamily property manager whose day is much more consistent. So due to this flexibility, some of the tips and practices that I shared in part 1 and I'll be sharing today in part 2 are much more streamlined and direct. Here are the 3 remaining tips for property managers to work in the single family side of the industry. Number 5, outside time. Regardless of what you have going on, it'll always be important that you're spending some time outside of your home office working on things as a property manager. You don't want your entire day to be things that you're solely working in your home office and you're never leaving that area. Yes, you'll have days that'll have to be the case. Maybe you're working on a particular project or because of other circumstances, but that should be rare. Most of the days, you should be spending some time during that day outside your office, visiting your sites and checking on other things. Here are some things I'd highly recommend as a property manager to spend some time on outside the office performing each day. You want to visit vacant properties. You may want to visit a property that is currently being turned into make-ready process to see its condition and an expected date that you'll be able to put it back on the market. You could also check on any projects being done. So maybe you have a particular vendor working in a particular unit and you want to see their progress. This is a great opportunity to stop by, see how they're doing, see how the job's coming along, and give the vendor some feedback as well. And by you being there firsthand, you'll give you the opportunity to do this. If you have a main office with a support staff or leasing agents and or other staff members like assistant managers, this is a great time to stop by the office as well, check in with the staff, see if there's anything you need or if there's anything they need from you. You can also stop by offices of your vendors. It's a great time to check in, see if they need anything from you, maybe collect things from them that you need. Maybe it's insurance or invoices or a bid. So this is also a great time to get outside the office and visit with some of your vendors. And the last thing I'd recommend for any property managers on the single family side to get outside their office is you always want to spend some time with potential owners. So as your portfolio grows and you're meeting with potential owners, it's always good to meet with them face to face, maybe at the property or near a property that they're looking to acquire. So this is another good opportunity to get outside the office as well. And number 6, check in with your staff. So even if you've checked in with your staff by visiting your office, you want to always have a check-in point each day with your staff to see if they need anything from you and to check in on anything you may need from them. Even if it's a situation where you checked in with your entire staff, maybe when you visited the office that day, there are some things by checking in doesn't necessarily mean that you may require their time or face-to-face interaction or them over the phone. It could be maybe reviewing a report you know they're working on or looking at things like timesheets or requested PTO. So this is another good opportunity to check in with your staff, maybe indirectly with things they're working on or maybe things they've submitted, or maybe it's a situation just checking in to see if they need anything from you. Allotting part of your day each day to check in with your entire staff or maybe 1 or 2 individuals differently each day, it will be really important for your long-term success. If you're enjoying this video and you're learning something new, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for future videos. And number 7, check your calendar. So one thing you always want to make sure you do before you leave each day is check your calendar. You want to ensure anything you maybe did not get to that you blocked off time for that day. If you didn't get to it, maybe you want to allot time the very next business day or for a future day of things you didn't get to. You also want to make sure for anything you have on your schedule the next business day that you're prepared for. Is there a particular report or someone you need to talk to prior to that to be prepared for it? Have you blocked off maybe time prior to that meeting to work on things and maybe review things and dig a little bit into what you need to be discussing on that call or during that meeting? So this will be really important to also then start to block off your next day before your calendar fills up very quickly as you may get requests or people take up your time with phone calls or email. Also, it's really healthy once you leave the office, you can enjoy that off time and that downtime with friends or family, or just to have that disconnect moment. By checking your calendar, you know what to expect that next day and what you need to do to prepare for that next day. And it's not something that's going to be later in the evening. You're questioning in your mind of, hey, am I ready for these meetings? What meetings do I have? When's my first meeting? By checking the calendar at the end of every day, it's a really good practice to get into to avoid that thought even creeping in your head. And for video recap today, keep in mind these final 3 practices that'll really help your daily routine for property managers that work on the single family side of the industry. Number 5, outside time. It's really important that each day you're spending a portion of your day out visiting properties or visiting with teams or visiting with vendors or visiting with potential owners. Make sure you allot some time each day to do this. Number 6, check in with your staff. Every day you should have a check-in point with some of your staff or maybe all of your staff for a staff meeting, for example, where you have the opportunity to give them the floor to ask you any questions of anything they need from you or if you have anything you need from them. And maybe it's a situation where you're not necessarily talking to them directly. Maybe it's a situation where you're reviewing maybe what they're working on, whether it be a report or a timesheet or maybe a requested PTO. This gives you the opportunity, if you're allotting time for this, to review things like that as well. And last, check your calendar. You want to make sure that if you have anything you didn't get to that day, you block off time in the near future to get that item done. You also want to make sure anything you have coming up either the next day or the following day, you're prepared for. So if you're not prepared for something, you block off some time prior to that meeting to work on those things to allow you to be prepared for those meetings or appointments. And remember, if you have not watched part 1 for this 2-part series, please make sure you do so, as this will be very helpful so you have all 7 daily routine tips I'd highly recommend for property managers that work in the single family side of the industry. If you enjoyed this video and you learned something new, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for future videos. Before putting any of these practices into place, please watch our updated disclosure video as well as our updated why we do this video, which is the channel's why. And I'll be providing a link to both of those in the video description. And to stay on top of industry news, polls, and video releases, please feel free to connect with our LinkedIn and our Instagram page. If you have any questions about this video or any of our videos, feel free to leave a comment. I'll be happy to address it for you. Happy leasing!